All right, family, we should be live right now. Let's see what's going on. We're gonna have a powerful show for y'all tonight. Brother Rich gotta get this right. Get rid of that. Yeah, family, we're gonna have a powerful show for y'all tonight. Let me see who's in the chat room. Who's in the chat? I don't see anybody. Okay, 603 Joey. Shout out to 603 Joey. Woo Moon. Yeah. Yo, Woo Moon. Let me tell you something. YouTube been bullshitting me on my subscribers for the longest. I've been at 267 for 6 months. Come on, you know damn well I wasn't at 267,000 subscribers for 6 months, but the number was stuck there. And I emailed them and told them, but they always got some bullshit to say. So, it's all good. But I just, I appreciate the support from everybody, regardless. Who knows how many subscribers I really have or how many views I really get. I'm just thankful to connect with y'all on a level that I do right now at this moment. As you can see, I got the brother Billy Carson with me today, man. Welcome back, my brother.
Hey, thank you, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a subscriber about my subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
And YouTube, something's always happening with them. With the numbers,
Yeah, I know, man. They listen. I haven't been monetized on YouTube for 2 years now.
Crazy.
And there's no conspiracies on my account.
Crazy.
Yeah, they just play this game, and they capitalize off of people, unfortunately, and they make money off of them, and they play with the numbers and everything else,
Before we get into the show, did you make the announcement about the new site? Or
no, I'm ready to. Yeah, I'm ready.
Well, yeah. Before we get into the show, tell them real quick because this is big, okay, man. What you doing? You're doing big stuff right now.
Hey, yeah, thank you, man. So I launched ForbiddenKnowledge.tv, just like a .com, but it's a .tv, and it's ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. It's my own streaming platform, just like Netflix, just like Gaia or any other streaming platform. But this is my own conscious streaming network with my own shows and my own content that I've acquired or bought on it. And we just turned the switch on literally just 2 days ago. So we're live right now. We already got probably about 50 subscribers. And I haven't even promoted it or told them. You guys are the first ones to really hear me talk about it out in the open. But right now, there's probably about 80 episodes up there, and another 16 terabytes of content is being edited right now and going up every single day. So probably even by this time next week, there could be 300 or 400 episodes up there. And definitely by this time next year, well over 10,000 episodes. So if you're looking for a lot of great streaming content, phenomenal information, everything from different sciences and news updates, alternative news, ancient history, esoteric wisdom and knowledge, and all that stuff in one place. It's going to be on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv, and it's just like like .com, just .tv, and you can check it out. It streams on any device you have.
Yeah, man, that's big, my brother. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I think we often talk about YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. But you went ahead and you took it to the next level, to the next step. One day I'm going to be at your level, but right now I just want to give you all the praise, my brother. You're doing your thing.
Thank you, appreciate it, man.
Indeed,
we're creators, so we got to create whatever we don't like in the world. If I don't like the music, so I made my own music. Right. I don't like the TV shows, so I made my own TV shows. I didn't like the other networks, I made my own network. So we just got to create what we want, create our own reality.
Constantly. And that brings us right into what we're talking about today. The name of the show is SpaceTime, Adinkra Codes, and the Cosmic Ethernet. And it was inspired by a clip that I put up on Instagram of you, where you was talking about how we basically have a built-in Wi-Fi system within our body, and that we can quantum entangle with any entity in the universe if we match that frequency.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because I remember how excited humanity got in the world, got in the United States, got when we found out about the internet, and we found out that I could connect with this person all the way over here in a chat room or whatever. Now this should be a million times more excited when we understand who we are and that our DNA can communicate wirelessly with any entity in the universe. So I want you to elaborate on that a little bit as far as our DNA communicating with a being in Jupiter or Mars or our ancestors, wherever they may be. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So DNA is really now they're finding out that it's really, we knew it was amazing, but the things that they're finding out now are completely mind-blowing, off the charts. First, they discovered that 1 gram of DNA can store 433 petabytes of data. So this group of scientists, actually there's 2 of them, they replicated an ebook 80 billion times and put 80 billion ebooks on 1 gram, which is 1 tiny drop of DNA, 80 billion books. I'm talking about digital data that's the same data that's on your computer and your cell phone and everything else. They were able to download that to DNA, and then not only download it to DNA, read it from the DNA and upload it back to the server again. So they came to the understanding that the human body, with the amount of DNA we have, can store about 13.5 billion years of information, which ironically is about the same age as, according to science, mainstream science, the age of the universe is about 13.5 billion years old. And since all atoms and all information is recycled in this system, every human avatar body contains all the information from the beginning of time directly in their avatar body. But what's really amazing is they discovered that DNA also has Wi-Fi capability. In other words, it can send and receive information wirelessly. So the signal rides the torus energy field that comes out of the heart, which is something we're going to talk about at the show, the workshop that we're going to do May 23rd in Brooklyn, New York, the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. I'm going to be talking deep about the brain-heart coherence. And I'm going to talk about this energy field that our body naturally creates, which is really mainstream science. It's not wizardry, it's not guessing, it's not hoping and wishing. This is real science we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the real fundamentals behind this science and how it works. So the Wi-Fi signal rides this torus energy field out of the body, and it projects out 8 to 10 feet. Some people's are so strong they can project even 20 feet outside the body. And it picks up information directly from space-time, and it transmits information also into space-time in the form of electromagnetic waves, which are waves of light waves. Light waves, when they're emitted, they travel through space-time eternally. They never stop. This is why you can see a star that's 20 million light years away. It took 20 million light years for that light from that star, the photon that left that star 20 million years ago, to hit your retina, get to the back of your brain, and get decoded as what it is. So this is really amazing stuff. And now that we understand this, it's like, okay, wow. If we are consciously on a frequency, in other words, our brains generate frequencies, which we know because we put the electrode caps on them. If we're consciously in synchronicity with another frequency in space-time, that information can be uploaded and downloaded right in through the what we call the neural correlates of consciousness, which are these neurons that wrap around the brain in combination with the magnetite crystals directly into the DNA in the body. And you can synchronize with information in space-time from any being, from anywhere, in any realm. It's amazing stuff.
So when you say on the video, you said the only thing that exists is electromagnetic waves. And I've even heard Deepak, I might quote him once or twice a night. He said the only thing that's around us that's really outside of us are photons, I think is the word he used. Same thing. So what do you, so you literally mean, so, all right, so when Neo was in the Matrix and there was nothing but information around him, ones and zeros, you mean our reality is based exactly like that?
Our reality is exactly like that. I mean, that's why the Matrix is a documentary. So, you know what I'm saying? So the thing that we have to understand is the solidity of the things that we see around us when we're navigating through this third dimensional matrix is all an illusion because of something called wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics. So in quantum mechanics, we discovered through several experiments, especially the double slit experiment, which is famous, that all information, all matter in the universe doesn't exist as matter. It only exists as electromagnetic waves, and electromagnetic waves are waves of light. That's all they are. Light waves that we specifically can't see with the human eye because we're limited. We can only see 1% of the light spectrum. We don't see in gamma ray, we don't see in X-ray, we don't see in infrared, we don't see in multispectrum, we don't see in ultraviolet, and there's a gambit of other areas that we just can't see. If we could see all that, we'd probably freak out because there'd be too much going on. Right. But those waves are there. And the only thing that collapses those frequencies, those waves and those frequencies into solid matter is consciousness. So when a conscious observer or consciousness stream enters into this realm and is directed towards a specific frequency of waves, it collapses that into something we call solid matter. So if right now, anybody who's not at home, for example, if you're not at home, your home is existing as an electromagnetic wave. And then when it gets within range of you, it collapses back into a solid structure again. It's like a video game. When you play a video game, as you start out, the next frame of graphics appears as you need it. And if you need to go backwards, it reappears again. But when you leave that frame, that screen frame in the video game, that frame still exists in the game as an electromagnetic wave until you go back, and then it turns into this, what looks like a three-dimensional object, but it's really a two-dimensional object on the screen. And just like in a video game, you have to win and learn to get to the next level, or you can be killed and start over again with reincarnation. It's the same exact way in real life. So as above, so below applies to everything. We've even applied as above, so below to our natural biological system into video games.
Ooh, that's deep. Yo, you know what's crazy? That was actually one of my questions tonight. Does the concept of as above, so below apply to not video games? I was going to say technology and humans. That's the same thing. But
oh yeah.
Hey, you already knocked the ball out the park already. Let me, family, this is what we're talking about. One thing that I like about my brother Billy, that he really has me examining, and he really has me looking into one thing that I neglected, was the fact this concept of empty space, and empty space not being empty. And even Deepak said, empty space is a fullness of non-material intelligence. So, you know, when we talk about how important breathing is and all of that stuff, I can honestly see why just the empty space in the air, because they say air is just another version of water, right?
That's right. It's another fluid. We're living in a fluid, a gas. Yeah.
Man, so it just gets so deep. But this Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop really has me looking into the immaterial realm more, really has me looking into meditation more, and really have me looking into my light body, my quantum light body more, brain heart coherence, all of that. So I want to tell everybody, man, this is just going to be awesome. It's probably going to be the best event I ever put together. And you haven't heard me say that about other events. So I'm saying that for a reason, because I'm talking to the brother behind the scenes. And I know what we got coming up for y'all. Even this interview tonight, this is like exclusive information. So everybody, May 23rd, Brooklyn, New York, make sure you come out. It's a 6-hour workshop. We're going to have food for y'all. We're going to have Billy Carson. We're going to have vendors there for y'all. It's going to be an amazing time in New York. And even after the lecture, you get 30 days worth of support via WhatsApp from Billy Carson. And that's something you will not get anywhere else. When you go to a workshop, we understand that it's 6 hours worth of information. He doesn't expect you to take it home and memorize it and know it. No, you're going to get support unlike no other. We're going to have probably weekly or bi-weekly global meditation sessions on YouTube. So it's going to be absolutely magnificent. This is something you don't want to miss. And this is something that is guaranteed to change your life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. This is Brother Rich. I'm proud to be associated with the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop, May 23rd in Brooklyn, New York. And with that being said, let me see what's going on in the chat. What's going on with the chat?
Yeah, man.
All right, what's happening with y'all with the chat?
Okay. I'm taking a peep in this chat myself. I never really take a look in there. I said hello last week. I'm gonna just take a quick look in here myself.
Yeah, they in there, they chilling. All right, so let's get to the interview, family. All right, so my first question for you, my brother, is could you touch real quick before we get into the deeper stuff? I'm interested in knowing, since this is a major concern to the people, I'm interested in knowing what are your thoughts on this coronavirus thing that's going on?
Yeah, the coronavirus, man, let me tell you, this is really, it's a multifaceted story, okay? Because this is pre-planned. In my opinion, okay, I don't usually like to say things definite like that. I usually like to keep a little bit of conjecture in there. But based off of my research, I would say it this way. I believe, me personally, that this is pre-planned. I'm not going to say it is pre-planned. I'm saying that I personally believe it is. A couple things that I now, in retrospect, look back on that happened last year leading up to this whole event start making sense now. The first one is Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is a multi-billionaire. Okay, you always hear Bill Gates and you hear Elon Musk from Tesla and all these. No, this guy is like another one of these super billionaires. Ray Dalio not only is he a best-selling author, but he runs a $150 billion hedge fund. Okay. Now, in November of 2019, Ray Dalio took $1.5 billion out of the hedge fund and put it on the stock market, betting. He did what they call a put in stock options. A put means you're betting a stock market to go or stock to go down, whether it's a future option or an option, S&P, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're betting it to go down, you do a put. He did a put for $1.5 billion, betting that the market will go down in March, at the beginning of March.
Yeah.
And
billion,
I talked about,
you said billion, right?
Billion, 1.5 billion. Yeah, so when you put that kind of money on the market, you can make $100 billion in a day, $100 million in a day, 200. I mean, the numbers are just crazy. Now, you can't even conceive the numbers that you can make in one day with that kind of a bet. Now, when he did that put, people got wind of it and they went berserk. You can look up this article. There's many articles about it from various major news sources online, because they were like, what does this guy know for him to put $1.5 billion that the market's going to crash in March 2020?
Right.
And I was thinking, wow, this is crazy, because I obviously, as you know, I play the stock market, I do options. And I'm thinking, what in the world? So as we got closer to March, I started winding down my trading, because I remember that article. And I started winding down and winding down. By the time we got to the middle of February, I was almost at a complete halt, because I wanted to see what was going to happen, okay? And sure enough, towards the end of February, here we go, here comes the crash. And I'm going, wow, this guy, he's either a prophet or he had inside information. Now, what kind of inside information could he have had? Well, let's think about it. What caused the market to crash? The coronavirus caused the market to crash. No other reason that the market crashed except the coronavirus. So that made me think, this guy, because he's rubbing shoulders with the elite of the elites in that billion dollar club, he got information from someone that led him to believe that there was going to be a release of this biological weapon. Maybe he didn't know the word corona, but he knew something was going to get released on the world as a test, or whatever it is the heck they're doing, that would cause markets to crash globally. And that's exactly what is happening. So he's already made his money on that put. He won probably multi-millions, maybe multi-billions of dollars. That's just phase one. So phase two is, okay, looking into this. And then I started digging into it deeper. When I started seeing the market go down, I realized that they discovered that this Harvard professor, Charles Lever, was busted taking all this money. They didn't say specifically who was giving him this money. He was getting he got one large deposit. I think it was a few $100,000. And then he got like 50 grand a week to do some dealings with some espionage agents from China and help get this biological material out of the Harvard laboratory into their hands. Now, this biological material, what is it? It's the same material that ended up at the Wuhan laboratory in China. So he got busted, and he actually is arrested right now. He's locked up with the feds, and the two espionage agents, which the only ones that they probably caught, they've also been indicted. I'm not sure if they've been arrested or locked up, but I know that an indictment went out. However, what were they working on? They were working on biological nanobots. These are robots that are just smaller than, just maybe a little bit larger than an atom, not too much larger than that, but smaller than cells, that are made of biological material, but they're really robots. They're nanobots, biological nanobots. And so they were working on these things and getting them out of the laboratory and getting them over to China, to the Wuhan laboratory. Now, the Wuhan laboratory is the location where this particular virus was leaked out, supposedly, and the first case was within just a couple of blocks of this Wuhan laboratory. Now, in my personal opinion, what's happening here is, based off of just this and a few more things that I looked into from 2018 even, China has been taking over this world, okay, nonstop. They've been really dominating and getting ready to really make a shift of power on this planet. Why? Because they've been buying up land everywhere, all over the world. They've been lending countries money. They took a page out of the Rothschild and Rockefeller book, lend countries money. And then when they can't pay the money back, you take over their resources and put military bases on their land, like we do. That's all we do. So they started doing that. They bought up the whole Caribbean, all the Bahamas, everything else. They own all this. they discovered that they can just print money like us and buy everything. And America, especially as we call it, Trump has been known talking about it, been wanting to crash the Chinese economy for a long time because it feels like they're dominating. I think that this is a plan to slow down this shift of the empires from west to east. I think it's a plan to knock them down through this artificial virus. And this artificial virus, once you breathe this in, and once this thing gets these nanobots get in your system, they don't make you sick right away. But 5G frequency, which is where the first 5G has been tested and set up in 2019, is in right where? The Wuhan laboratory, right by the Wuhan laboratory. 5G scientists and doctors have come forward, real mainstream ones, that excessive exposure to 5G can give you flu-like symptoms. These bioweapons now are breathed in or inhaled in some way, maybe chemtrail over the city, whatever, however they get it into you. You get it in your body, you're fine until this 5G frequency is tweaked and it hits you. And then you start to come out with these flu-like symptoms. Really, it's not the flu, it's flu-like. And these nanobots or these bioweapons begin to attack the cells in your body, mimicking something like a flu virus that kills you within 10 to 15 days. And this was talked about in 2018 by a person who was trying to warn the world that this was going to be coming. This is 2018. The video is on my Facebook account from this gentleman from 2018. He's given the exact scenario that I'm talking about right now happening from then. So the 5G in combination with these biological nanobots creates this virus-like symptom in the body that can be attributed to the coronavirus. In other words, they're hiding it behind that, but in true reality, it's not a coronavirus. It's a man-made bio attack weapon utilized to make people sick and destroy an economy, in my personal opinion. Now, the third level to it is what they've been doing. Okay, China started getting wind and idea. I have an article, I have a video on forbidden knowledge about this. They started realizing that this is artificially created. They're realizing it now, and they even have vowed for revenge. Okay, they're like, okay, now we see what's going on. This was created. This is an attack. This is not just a random flu virus. This was specifically targeted towards us to bring us down. And you know, I think that's what happened now is the powers that be have gone out and trickled the real coronavirus around the world to take some of the pressure off of where it may have originated from. But in my personal opinion, I think it originated right here in America. It made its way over there through people who took some submarine money in order to get people over there sick and dying, get the economy crashed, and put them back 10, 15 years from their domination scheme. That's what I think is going on.
Wow, brother. Wow. Y'all heard it here first, man. The brother surely dropped it. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be Googling a lot of things, looking up a lot of things after this. But yeah, that's something. That's something, my brother. What's all the talk I hear about? A lot of people are saying on my Instagram page, a lot of Black brothers are saying that the Africans are immune to it.
Yeah, you know, that's really interesting. Yeah, they went to they started, you know, scientists have been kind of baffled. They say, why isn't this affecting Africans? And a lot of countries in Africa are not affected by the coronavirus. And you know, well, we're all made differently. You know, for example, a Caucasian person can spend a lot of time in the sun and absorb a lot of vitamin D from the sun. This is something probably a lot of Black people don't know. But Black people, because of the melanin in our skin, the color of the melanin, we don't absorb vitamin D from the sun very well at all, which is why a lot of Black people, including myself, are vitamin D deficient. I have to take vitamin D supplements because of that. So every race of people have different aspects of them that react differently with the environment. And for whatever reason, Black people are more prone to diabetes and other things, but then we're also obviously stronger, faster in athletics and sports and this and that. So everything balances itself out. For some reason, the way that this virus is designed, it seems to be designed to target more Asian people than other races. However, it can roll over into other races, but the way that it's designed, because our physiology as Black people is a lot different than, it's about a 2% variance between every race. That sounds like a small number, but that's actually a huge number. We're talking about, it would take millions of years of evolution to get a 2% variance. This is how you know that races were specifically created They didn't evolve. Black people didn't evolve to be black. White people didn't evolve to be white. Races were specifically created. That goes into other ancient texts. That's a whole nother show. But the way that we're created, the way that we're designed, this coronavirus has a hard time locking onto our cells and giving us that sickness. Another thing that's good too for us is that there's not a lot of 5G setups in Africa as well to initiate a frequency change. And so because of that, the lack of the 5G, because of our physiology, you're going to see a lot less cases, not completely zero, but a lot less cases in African-American people, I believe.
Wow, thanks for answering that, man. Oh man, wow, this is. Y'all can't tell where y'all getting this at, man. Where else are y'all getting this at 11:25 at night? So with that being said, my brother, let's get into some of the science. I want to talk to you about the Adinkra codes. James, what's the name? James Gates? James Sylvester Gates?
James S. Gates Jr. Wow, amazing, brilliant brother.
So what does this have to do with the structure of our reality?
Yeah. You know, man, the Adinkra codes are, man, the more I think about, I just got goosebumps again just now thinking about these Adinkra codes, because the ancient Dogons, you know, the Dogon tribe from Mali, Africa, were the original people from the land of Kem, okay? So they were the original Kemetic people, and the only reason why they left the land of Kem and went out to Mali was because unfortunately, Africa, or Egypt, I should say, Egypt had been overthrown, 7 times in history that we know of. And one of the times they were overthrown, the Dogons, they basically migrated out to Mali. But the Dogons maintain an incredible amount of knowledge about space, planets, star systems that are light years away. And of course, these Adinkra codes, which they were given by the Nomos. The Nomos came from Sirius B, which is the star system out there. It's a trinary star system. There's Sirius A, B, and Sirius C. 3 stars that orbit each other in this very crazy elliptical orbit system, light years away from us. And they're saying that these beings came here called the Nomo. They called them the Nomo and gave them this information. That we're living in something called sleepy time or dream world, that this reality that we're in actually is an illusion, a holographic illusion. And that, when you die is when you really wake up. And they gave them these codes called Adinkras. And so to keep these codes passing down through history, oral history, they also turned them into patterns. So they turned them into these sacred geometrical patterns on clothing and blankets and shawls and everything else. And so you can go to a Dogon shop, if you could find one, you'll find these Adinkra codes painted or stitched into clothing and designs and rugs and everything else. And this has been going on for thousands of years. Well, James S. Gates, completely separate from the Dogon, came across, he was researching what is the ether of space-time? Like, what is this soup that we're in? And he got together this super team of theoretical physicists, and he's an expert in supersymmetry. And the more they dug into the essence of reality, they discovered that it runs off of something called Adinkra codes. Ironically, he came up with the same terminology that the Dogon utilized to create, to hand down the history of these codes. He discovered that when you take these Adinkra codes and turn them into 3-dimensional substructures, you get this code called error correcting codes, which are the same exact codes that run search engines and web browsers on our computers and cell phones. And it blew him away, it blew everybody away. That the fundamental process is underlying what we see as this quote unquote reality in this realm is running off of computer code that runs websites and search engines. And the Dogon codes, when you take them off of a blanket or whatever it is, or whatever drawing, and turn it into a 3-dimensional structure, there are the same exact Adinkra codes that are mimicking our holographic reality. So they knew about this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. James S. Gates rediscovered it, brought it back to the forefront again. I've been talking about it for many, many years now. The fact that we're living in a fractal holographic universe running off the Mandelbrot set, which we're going to get into real deep in the at the workshop at the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop, May 23rd. We're going to go really deep into this information. I'm going to break down all the science for you so you can know how to apply it to your life. But yeah, this is amazing stuff, man. This is like earth-shattering, mind-blowing stuff that we're living in a program. It doesn't take away from a God-like figure. It doesn't take away from a creator. It just means what technology did the creator use to make this realm, Adinkra codes and fractal holography. This is what makes the third dimension.
Wow. So the Dogon, so where would you say we come from, Billy? If the Dogon say the Nomo gave them that knowledge, where is our origin outside of this planet, my brother?
Man.
And the second part of that is, do different races have different planets that they come from?
Man, you just hit, man, you just boop, boop, you put the nail right there. Listen, that's this is the biggest thing. Okay. This is a sensitive topic for a lot of people, especially Black people, because we have been so deprived of so much stuff, and we have been so oppressed and suppressed and boots on our neck and everything else, that when we get a little glimpse that we were this and we were that, we want to really run with it. And I don't want to take that away from anybody, you know. At the same time, we have to understand that there's a history that goes beyond Africa. Even there's a history that goes beyond the planet Earth, which is what we're going to talk about as well at the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. We're going to tap into all of this, guys, all of this stuff. We're going to be talking about the chronicles of the Anunnaki a little bit. We're going to delve into that just a little bit, because the origins of the original Hebrews, which are Black people, is not from this planet. The origins of the Aborigine people, which were the first people on this planet, as far according to their verbal history, first humans on this planet, are not from this planet. When you go around the world, and I've been around the world, I got the pictures to prove it. You know, I talk to these indigenous cultures. I start discovering more and more that different races of peoples were seeded on this planet. Now, I do believe that there were people already here when the Anunnaki arrived on this planet, and they were already, these are our cousins. They were already around the entire planet. They did not interact with them initially. Much later, a couple 100,000 years later, they went to a genetic modification of these people. They're known in the Sumerian cuneiform tablets as the black-faced people. So Black people were already here on the entire planet. It wasn't even like we were or weren't. No, the tablets specifically say the black-faced people. As a matter of fact, during one of the Pyramid Wars, when there was this big war going on, unfortunately, the evil wind, which is what it was called, it passed over an area where all the black-faced people were and killed a lot of them. This was like a nuclear fallout from this war that these Anunnaki beings were having against each other, and unfortunately, we suffered, from it. But Black people have been here, but there have been other races on this planet as well. There have been even blue people, well documented in Africa and India, and even green people, again, well documented in Africa and India. It's in the glyphs, and this information is well documented in many ancient texts like the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita. You can go into the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead. You start to discover that there's all these different types of people. The further back you go, the more races there were. It wasn't just a small amount of races we have now. And what's interesting is that their quote unquote gods, the people that they looked up to or worshiped or whatever, they were all from different planets and star systems. Aldebaran, Sirius, Orion, the Pleiades. Like, for example, the Aboriginal people. I just came from Australia. I spent a whole week out there walking out in the outback with all the fires and everything. Went 8 miles out into the bush to document these proto-Egyptian hieroglyphs out there in the middle of the outback in Australia. So out in Australia, in the middle of the outback, in the middle of nowhere, on these giant slabs, there's a makeshift Egyptian temple with proto-Egyptian glyphs on it. And I documented it in 4K. Yeah, I'm going to make it into a documentary. It's going to be sick. And the glyphs.
Hieroglyphs in Australia.
Egyptian hieroglyphs in Australia. And guess who else is there? My boy, Thoth the Atlantean. A huge etching of him into this stone that goes back thousands and thousands of years, with him on top of a spaceship flying through the Milky Way galaxy. It's amazing.
Hold up. That's in Australia?
In Australia. That's where I just came from. Yeah. It's sick. I put some little on a spaceship. I put some behind the scenes clips of me on Forbidden Knowledge, I think about 2 weeks ago, in the documentaries in production. It's called The Mystery of the Gosford Glyphs. The glyphs themselves have been verified by the Cairo Museum now as Proto-Egyptian glyphs. So it's official. It's official. They're Proto-Egyptian glyphs, and because of the patina in between the markings, the etching, you can age the glyphs because patina takes time to develop and grow in those seams. So the age is now being looked at, but it's approximately at least 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. And there's a story of brothers who came there from Egypt to visit with the Aborigines to get knowledge and wisdom from them. And one brother got bit by a snake and died. The other brother couldn't save him, took him back to the body back to Egypt. When I went to Egypt in 2014, the story of them returning from Australia with the dead brother is in the glyphs at Abu Simbel. So this is amazing. So, man, there's so much I could talk about here, man. It's just, I mean, but Black people, in my personal opinion, I call them space Hebrews. I think that a lot of the Blacks.
Space Hebrews?
Space Hebrews.
That's
right.
deep.
Yeah, space Hebrews, man. And I think a lot of these ships that we see flying around, a lot of these UFO sightings, it's not all little alien with the gray heads on them. I think there's Black people in a lot of these ships. And I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why it's being oppressed and suppressed. I mean, suppressed from us hearing about it, knowing about it, because I think there's actually a lot of Black people flying around and they're directly related to us. I think there's a lot of UFO activity with Black people in it. So, it's really interesting. And as I have more information to back that up as well from interviews from the head of Ames Research, Mr. Bergeron, who is his resume can go down the street and around the corner. He's a physicist, a rocket scientist, and he was on an interview. He was actually in the Apollo 11 mission control when they were walking on the moon. And he actually said in an interview openly, and I have the interview actually on Forbidden Knowledge and Facebook, that across the crater from our Apollo 11 was a ship that landed. And when the doors opened to that ship, 8 to 10 feet tall Black people walked out of it and watched us walk on the moon.
Wow.
And this guy's one of the top scientists in the world. He's one of the reasons why we even get into space. And for him to even make that statement is absolutely and totally profound. So amazing stuff, man. I think people come from different places. And in the Emerald Tablets in my book, you'll see where Thoth, after he rebuilds the land of Chem, which was his mission because the Great Flood had passed over Chem. After he rebuilt it, he told his crew members to spread out around the planet and duplicate this. And I totally believe that when they spread out around the planet, they put a genetic marker on people to, Asians over here, Africans over here, Caucasians over here by the Caucasus Mountains. I think these races were genetically created or modified to be what they are. I think Black people were the original first people here that they interacted with, but then it spread out to multiple races, from there. But the origins of our relatives, our super ancient ancestors, I don't think it's from Earth at all.
Mm. And that's so fascinating, man, for our race to, and this is why the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop is so important, is because all this information, this empty space, and they say we are 99.9% empty space.
Yeah.
So empty space is this cosmic information. We really need to tap within. Inner space is where it's at.
That's right.
The party's
take the journey into space. Like I try to tell people, there's 7.5 billion people on Earth. And because atoms are 99.999% empty space, if I took away all the empty space between the atoms and all the people on the planet, all 7.5 billion people, all 7.5 billion people can fit into one sugar cube. All the people on Earth can fit in one sugar cube. What does that tell you? We're not really here. That's why you got to take a journey to inner space. So long as people keep seeking salvation externally, they're never going to find it. You got to go inside. That's where the information is located internally. And only by going inside can you affect the external.
I wonder how much time, Billy, the ancients spent just meditating per day, if there was a such thing as a day in their time and civilization. But I wonder how much time did they spend inside versus outside? Like for example, where we live at, if you tell somebody meditate for 5 minutes, they'd be like, oh shit, 5 minutes? I ain't got 5 minutes. Nigga, whatever. I'm gonna meditate. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Like you want to meditate for 5, I imagine how much time they spent within in order to create what they created. It had to be totally different from us, man.
Oh man, listen, that is so true. And I talk about this sometimes, the fact that our ancient ancestors, not Homo sapiens sapien, which is what we are, we've had our genetics tinkered with. And this has already been known in mainstream science that they've looked at our genes and they can tell our genes were tinkered with. And they can only estimate about 200,000 years ago. Ironically, the cuneiform tablets from the Sumerians talk about us being genetically tampered with 200,000 years ago. So we know who did it. But our ancestors prior to the genetic tinkering, I believe that they were much smarter than us. I don't mean technologically smarter in terms of what they had technologically, but I believe spiritually smarter. Their heads were bigger because we found these skulls all over the planet. I think their heads were bigger. I believe that they were probably, because of that, had a bigger pineal gland, probably more in tune with nature, probably had their telekinesis capabilities, can utilize their magnetite crystals to really navigate the planet. You know, they probably had telepathy, probably didn't have to say too much. They could probably read each other's minds. All of that, I believe, was happening. And because of that, I believe they probably spent a lot of time in nature and also in meditations. So I think that they were probably much more spiritually in tune. Everything was a lot slower back then. And if you read any of these ancient texts, you discover that people were living for thousands of years and hundreds of years back then. Okay. The years didn't get shorter until the Tower of Babel incident. So after the Tower of Babel incident, where in the book of in the Bible, it's Genesis, I believe. I'm sorry, Genesis. It's the Old Testament. Yahweh comes back and sees the human beings building this tower to the heavens, and he gets angry. This is how you know it's not the creator of the universe, because why would you get angry with people working together trying to do something? So he gets angry. This is actually in the ancient Sumerian tablets known as Enlil. Enlil comes back, sees this tower, realizes, oh my God, human beings, or these people, I should say, if they put their minds together, they can achieve anything and maybe even outdo us. I'm going to destroy this tower. And then what did he do? He said, my seed shall not abide in man forever. His years shall be 120. So he said, basically, I'm going to genetically modify these people to where they can't live this long anymore. They're living too long, they're getting too smart. I'm going to shorten them to 120 years max. And what they found out in Harvard not too long ago, 2 years ago, was that under the best conditions, under the most pristine living conditions, a human being can live to 120 years, and that's about it. Why? Because of the telomere caps. They would run out of genetic buffer material by then. So they did this chromosome number 2 fusion, put telomere caps on the end, shorten our lifespan. So, you know, now we're trying to rush. Everything is a rush. This is why we're in this rush all the time. We don't have 5 minutes for meditation. We don't have 2 minutes for that. We don't have time to look up and research anything. We got to go, because we only have a short amount of time, because our, you know, when you're living for thousands of years, you take your time with everything, man. You know what I'm saying? You stop, you smell every single rose because you got so much time. But when you're not, when you're living for, they got us down to like 70 years now. You know what I'm saying? Everything is like, how we got to speed through this. We got to rush. So we become this race of people on this planet that are rushing through everything and wanting instant information all the time. This is why at the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop, we're going to do a couple of different meditations, and we're going to take some time. And we're going to go into a meditation, and I'm not going to say how long it's going to be, but at the end, I'm going to ask people how long they thought it was, and you're going to see some amazing answers, because I did the same thing at the mystery school, the Egyptian mystery school at Dame Dash Studios a few months ago, and people had no idea how long we were under that meditation. That's how deep it got. So we're going to do the same thing, man. It's going to be eye-opening. And people are going to realize, wow, I need to make time for this, because this experience was so amazing. I need to make time for it. And that's the whole goal behind it.
Billy, you put a post up on Instagram and said if you're too busy to meditate, somebody said they're too busy. How does it go? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, if you're too busy to meditate, if you're too busy to sit and meditate for 30 minutes, then you need to sit for an hour.
Wow, that's deep. Yeah. That's how important it is.
Yeah, for real. Because it's going to get you back in sync with the universal consciousness. It's going to get you back in sync with the cosmic flow, the cosmic energy. It's going to get you everything in time. It operates on ripples of time, right? So these are like waves, little waves that happen. So now what happens is a lot of the times as the wave goes up and comes down, it crashes at the bottom. When it crashes at the bottom, there's people who are living in that bottom part of the crash. So their discernment level is almost at 0 or -0. Their ability to see things coming at them is almost at -0. Their ability to make changes and maneuver through the matrix is almost at 0. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to take a person and we want to move them up to the crest of the wave. so that, like a surfer, you're riding the wave and not getting the wave crashing down you. This time wave will crash on you because we're not living in real time. We're living in a delayed reality because of all the dimensions or the densities that are above us. The spiritual or the consciousness travels down through densities, and by the time it gets to this avatar body and then gets deciphered, there's an actual delay in what's really happened out here with this electromagnetic wave matrix. So to give you proof of this, we'll talk about this in the Eye-Magi-Nation. Well, I'll give them a little glimpse though. Scientists did a study on, you heard me talk about this before, on how the mind looks when it experiences different emotions. So they would show the people different scenery, and then with a cap on that reads the electrodes, reads the electricity or the electromagnetic waves coming out of the brain, sends it to a computer. And they said, wow, okay, this is what emotions look like on a computer. So they started realizing that as they showed these images to people to generate different emotional responses, the people were sending information to the computer, but something weird started happening in every case study. The images were shown 10 seconds apart. And what started happening was up to 7 seconds in advance, the next image, whether it was a horrific scene or a peaceful scene or a joyful scene, whatever the brain was going to interpret it as, was being sent to the computer before the image showed up on the computer screen. What does that tell you? Now, this experiment was duplicated so many thousands of times around the world. It's a fact. It's not science fiction. It's a science fact. Reality is delayed. The brain is getting information, a stream of consciousness download into it from what we think already happened. It doesn't mean that we're living in the past. It doesn't mean that the information is coming from the future, I should say. Let me correct myself. It doesn't mean that the information is coming from the future. The information is coming from real time. We're living in the past. That's what I meant to say. So we're in a delayed system. So if you look at a cable TV, a TV that's connected to cable and a TV that's connected to a DirecTV satellite dish, simultaneously at the same time, you'll see that the computer or the TV that's connected to the cable will be quicker at showing information than the TV that's connected to the satellite. There's a delay because the signal has to go to space and come back down again from a satellite. That's why satellite TV has a delay in it, okay? So we're in that delay factor in this third dimensional density avatar body. And because of that, we're not getting information in real time. So because of that, we to improve our ability to discern what's happening in this matrix and navigate it properly. We need to take our consciousness, which is multidimensional already, and we need to synchronize with that in the universe and get to the top of the wave crest so that we ride this wave crest and we don't always just let things crash on top of us. And we're always getting blindsided. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Oh my God, this just destroyed me, or this just happened. We're able to foresee things better. And when things are getting ready to happen, we're able to discern it better before it gets to a problem, something that now we can still logically solve or alchemically transform into something else. So we're going to talk about that in the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. We're going to get people moving from the bottom where this time wake is crashing on them, and get them to the top of that crest so they can ride the wave and be more in tune with everything going on around them and more aware of everything going on around them and have a much better life and a much better reality tunnel. So it's going to be amazing, man. I mean, if they're not in the building that day, I'm just telling you, they're going to hear about it and they're going to be like, wow, I wish I was there.
It's definitely, my brother. And like I told the people, listen, I've sat with literally the best of them, Bobby Hammond, Delbert Blair, Dr. Phil Valentine, Jewel Pookrum. I mean, the names go on and on and on. I'm very happy to have this brother in the year 2020. Most of the elders don't speak no more, but the information that I talked to him, that I seen on the internet, that's why I posted the video about the human Wi-Fi system, the DNA, and also talking to the brother behind the scenes. And this is why the beautiful thing about the workshop, you get to hit the brother up behind the scenes and really just get a side of him. You get the channel a side of him that he doesn't give to the internet on a regular. But you can't beat it, family. Like, this is some important information. This is absolutely priceless. Just for what you're doing with the streaming site And you know what I seen? You know what's funny? I seen your Instagram the other day. That was you in the two-door Rolls Royce. The
Yeah.
yeah, man. I said that because you got the book. Being woke doesn't mean being broke.
Yeah.
That's another one of the programs we suffer with as a people. Is we have a poverty consciousness because of not only religion but just slavery and whatever. And we think innately money is evil,
Right.
even if we don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
So it's a real sad mindset that we have developed as a people. And I'm glad to have a brother that's conscious and getting it financially so people could see the two and they know that you don't have to be broke to be conscious, or you don't have to be conscious to be broke, my brother. Right. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's very important. It's in our epigenetic memory. It's been beat into us, and the whole theory behind like Jesus and the money changers when he walked into the temple and he overturned the money changers and all this stuff. So it's just like we got to get out of that mindset.
What is epigenetics? Please explain that to the people.
Yeah. So okay, epigenetics is, in biology, we discovered that there's genetic memory stored within the body, within the DNA. It's literally inside of your body. All your memories from your ancestors, you're walking around with them. And these epigenetic memories can be stored in a generational pool for up to 15, sometimes even 20 generations, depending on how strong they are. So let's take in case slavery. Slavery will create a very strong epigenetic memory because it's such a traumatic situation. It's burnt into the DNA and it's going to be passed on generation to generation for probably 20 or more generations. And we just got out of slavery. We haven't even started to get out of the epigenetic pool yet, right? So the problem with it is if you don't come to workshops like this, if you don't start to reprogram your DNA through conscious thought and effort and meditations, then these memories stay inside of you and you pass them on to the next generation, and it goes on and it goes on. Black people are suffering naturally without any outside influence. If you took away all the outside influence, you will still find that Black people will still be suffering internally. You know why? Epigenetic memories. We're talking about all the slavery, all the rape, all the abuse, all of that stuff going on. We will be suffering. This is a great photo you put on the screen. This is a great example right here. Yeah. We have this, I forget the name of this syndrome here where you,
Stockholm.
That's it. Exactly. That's it. And so it's in us, and people will suffer with PTSD. They'll be depressed. They'll have all these things going on. I can't figure out why that's happening to them. It's not really them. It's the memories being triggered from their epigenetics that are coming out into their body and coming up, expressing themselves through the emotional system that we have. So we have to learn how to reprogram ourselves. We have to learn how to talk positive about ourselves. We have to learn how to say positive affirmations and do meditations and think about ourselves in different ways so that we can begin to reprogram our DNA, because it's been scientifically proven that by doing that stuff, you will reprogram your DNA. And this is not even, again, this isn't mysticism or hoping or wishing. This is real peer-reviewed science. This has been done in laboratories. You reprogram yourself like this. So we're going to do some reprogramming techniques at the actual Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. And I'm going to tell the people to duplicate this within their families so that we can shorten the time period. Instead of it being 20 generations, let's see if we can get it down to 8, maybe even 5 if we do a good enough job. But it takes a huge collective of people on the same accord, working for the same purpose and reason to rid ourselves of this epigenetic disease of these ancient memories that don't really serve us in a proper and credible way. They serve to keep us suppressed mentally, consciously, and they really hurt us also right now in this particular financial matrix economically. And they've got us still going by the old mentality that we've got to be broke, we got to be poor, or that getting to the higher levels of income is not accessible for us because of where we came from. Or the other thing is, is that we'll never get there because the system is pinned against us and things like that. Well, we got to learn how to navigate through this matrix. We're living in a matrix, a financial matrix, as well as a light matrix. And in my opinion, it's not that money is the root of all evil. It's that the love of money is the root of all evil. And that understanding that money is an energy exchange link. So understanding it, taking it away from its fiat currency and it's fake and it doesn't exist and it's evil and all this other stuff. Yes, it can be used for all of that stuff. However, right now, today, I'm not a breatharian and you're not a breatharian. We both have to eat food to survive. Am I correct?
Yes.
That food requires money. Right now, at this particular moment in space-time, it needs money. I mean, there's no way to get around it. To get that money, I got to exchange energy. I got to put energy out. Energy out will give me this piece of paper that lets me go to a store. The store put the energy out as well to create the facility and the shelves and everything else to get the stuff on the shelf. So we exchange energies through this piece of paper. When you look at it as an energy exchange and you figure out how can I make these pieces of paper become my employees? So every single day I figure out how I can turn those papers into employees and make them work for me. And that's how I break this matrix code. I got those papers, those fiat papers, working for me instead of me working for them. You got to flip the script on all this stuff. Everything can be alchemically transformed and transmutated. And that's what we're going to talk about at the class, at the workshop.
We got to be alchemists, man. I'm so glad you said that. All of this stuff could be alchemically changed. That's our only option. When we see the visions we see on social media, the television, just walking outside, we're forced to become alchemists, because if we go by what we see, we're just going to create more of what we see. So we have to see something that's not outside of us to create some type of change. Yes, and we have no choice, like I said, at this time, but to be alchemists. I think one of the biggest things, forms of mind control in the entire world, and probably the most successful tool, has been the media. Because when the media throw that image on your eyes, I mean, it just changed. I remember I was talking to Blue Pill one time, Billy Carson. Earlier this year or late last year, I said, Blue Pill. We was talking about, the struggle of Black people in this country. I said, brother, I said, why did we invented so many of the things we use on a day-to-day basis, whether it's the air conditioner, a doorknob, the elevator, the lawnmower, so many things we invented. I said, Blue Pill, what's the difference between back then and right now? Why we're nowhere near as creative? He said, yeah, I think it was the invention of Hollywood, the media. The newspaper, once we started reading things and watching things and listening to the radio, all that went out the window, man.
Yeah. It literally took us back. If you look back in the early part of the post-slavery, you'll find different areas of the country where a lot of Black people were extremely, extremely successful. Well, I mean, wearing suits every day, businesses and corporations. We used to own our own bus lines. We had everything. And as we moved towards the segregation mark is when things started to get a little convoluted, where the people that were really racist against Black people discovered, oh yeah, if we let them in, then we could take over all of the industries and then put them as employees instead of business owners. But prior to that, we were owning a lot of businesses and a lot of property and real estate and houses and land and farms and everything else. But the segregation plus the TV and the media and everything else, we let it program us into a way where we relinquished our power once again. The problem is, I think, unfortunately, as a race of people, we're too nice a lot of the times in terms of how we see people. The reason why Egypt was overthrown so many times is because they were so into arts and creatives and culture and all that kind of stuff, and weren't really focusing on military in the early stages of Chem, and then in the early stages of the dynastic era. We weren't focusing on militaries and stuff like that. Other people were like, we got this military. Those people are over there making art and stuff. We're going to go over there and we're going to take them over. And they just kept doing it. So it's like it's not that, I don't want to say too nice in terms of like we should be these angry people, but we have so much empathy for people, and we always want to see the best out of people, no matter what race they are. And other races would like to take advantage of that weakness. It's actually can be considered a weakness in us, when it's truly really a strength. In the long run, it's a strength. Believe me, brother. In the long run, it's a strength.
Okay.
Golden age time, it's a strength. But right now, it's been perceived as a weakness, and it has allowed us to become a little fickle-headed, and where we kind of just, wherever the wind blows, we kind of just roll with that, and we follow all these different things that are presented to us, not seeing the own strength and power that we have in ourselves. And we've relinquished a lot of our power, unfortunately, to the world. And even though we have the biggest spending power, we have the least influence on the planet.
Indeed. Once again, family, before we continue, make sure y'all attend the, let me put this up on the screen.
Yeah, man. Plug this
Give me a second, family. I want the family to make sure y'all come to the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. Myself and the brother Billy Carson. I'm hosting. The brother's going to be talking for 6 hours on May 23rd in Brooklyn, New York. I mean, if you enjoy this video, you're going to super enjoy this workshop. I mean, 6 hours of teaching. You get 30 days worth of spiritual support from the brother on a WhatsApp group chat. The brother's going to be available, helping you, assisting you in your meditation, in your breathing, in your macabre quantum light walking, and as far as manifestation, as far as brain heart coherence. So, you know, sometimes we hear people talk about this and we'd be like, man, you ain't got shit, man. You talking all that shit while you ain't got shit. Well, the brother's financially blessed. Let me say that. So the brother's he's not telling us about advanced manifestation, and we look at his living condition and the brother live in a shelter or something like that. No, and that's not to come at nobody living in a shelter. What I'm saying is that the brother's actually teaches something and he's applying it to his life, and he's willing to teach those who are willing to be taught. He can't force this on our people. So you can't act like it's his fault that this happens or that happened. No, we got to take what he's teaching and learn how to apply it to ourselves individually. And that's what he's going to do in the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. I've been looking to do a workshop. I've been doing lectures for so long, and I've been saying the next step for me is a workshop. But I needed to do it with the right person, family, and I needed to know that that person has the right information. And I know that this is the right time. I know that this is the right information. If you want to be corona-proof and recession-proof and illness-proof and all that, all the answers is inside of you. I can't give you the answer, but I can tell you how to go inside you to get that answer. And that's what the brother's here for. The brother got techniques, ancient techniques, and we're going to dive deep in that inner verse.
Yeah.
We're going to journey into the inner space. And I want to say that I'm proud of this right here, my brother Billy Carson. And with that being said, brother, I want to ask you, where's that? I had a question that I just wrote down when you was talking. Okay, so with all of what you're saying being said, before I get into that, I was in Whole Foods, and I seen a magazine, National Geographic, and on the cover it said National Geographic Queens of Egypt when women ruled the world. Now you've traveled all over the world, my brother. You've studied history, ancient civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations. I want to ask you, how was the world different when women ruled the world?
Oh man, listen, much different. You have, you know, it's ironic you say that, man. On my couch out here in my living room, I actually have this hand-stitched rug that was made right in front of me in Egypt, and it's Queen Ty. It's an image of Queen Ty. It's amazing. I'll show it to you. One day we'll bring it on the camera. It's a pretty big piece. I have it draped across my couch. But, you know, Queen Ty, which was King Tut's grandmother, she was darker than me, had a big afro. Her bust, the bust of her with the afro and everything else, and her headpiece is at the Cairo Museum when you walk in. One of the first things you see when you walk in, indistinguishable. You can see right there, boom, wow, this is King Tut's, you know, grandmother. But, you know, you had Queen, so many people you had from the time in ancient times that were women that were ruling the world. And the world was a much different place because when women rule, they have the capability of ruling with strength and power. And they have the same time of having a certain level of empathy. And I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Not really colorfulness, but style and class, okay? Now, when you go to Cairo, Egypt, if anybody who's looking at this video right now has gone to Cairo in the last 10 years, they're gonna agree with me, and maybe they'll say something in the chat if they have. Cairo, it looks like trash. I hate to tell you this, it's bad. Garbage is everywhere. Garbage in the canals, garbage in the Nile. The buildings are all one color. Everything is the same color. Everything is this dark, dirty brown. There's no color, there's no plants, there's nothing to spruce up the place. Everything looks dirty and dingy and worn out. When you look at it and analyze, why is this place like this? And then you look at the women. The women are all wearing full body gowns with only their eyeballs showing. They're completely oppressed. Women are heavily, heavily, heavily oppressed by the Arabs, because right now Arabs are ruling over the area, the region. And so you take away the feminine and you put the masculine only. There's no balance. There's no balance there. When you have the feminine energy, you can kind of get some type of a balance there. But when you have only masculine energy, the whole place looks like a giant bachelor pad. Okay, so when women rule, it's a lot different, and the reasons for going to war are also a lot different. Do they have dumb reasons and jealousy and envy? Yes, they do have that kind of stuff. However, when you look at the eras and the periods where women were ruling, it seemed like life was always better for the general population. When it became a dominant male ruling over a particular civilization, it always seemed like blood and gore. And so you got to, and no matter how far you go, you look at the Roman Empire, look what they were doing. They were taking over the whole planet, and they were going around and taking over countries by, of course, wars and murders. And it was just blood and gore nonstop. Hitler tried to do it in more recent times. What do you get? Blood and gore. Look at the papal inquisitions when they went around the planet trying to push Christianity around the planet. People think, oh, Christianity went around the world because of peace and unity, and because it was written, it would be spoken all over the world. No, it went around the planet because for 700 years, they killed and tortured 80 million people under the order of popes, which are what? Men. So the masculine energy, it's got its purpose, but man, when it's completely dominant and there's no balance from the feminine energy, it really is a bloody, gory, dirty habitat,
Wow. Yeah.
Facts.
Say that again.
It's just facts, man. Some guys may get offended, but it's a reality. You can look at it for yourself. You'll see it.
Indeed. Yeah. So I'm gonna get the magazine. I want to see what they talk about. Queens of Egypt when women ruled the world, National Geographic. So yeah, y'all could definitely look into the history of when Egypt and the women rulers and get more information on that. I want to talk to you more about this empty space. I'm pretty fascinated by it, and I think that's a level of study that we don't examine as much. I understand that we can change the molecular structure of water, and I think Emoto, he showed how we could change the molecular structure of water. Right. So if air is another version of water, if I speak into the air, am I changing the molecular structure of that information that we say is present?
Absolutely. Because air is molecules. Okay. So when you take atoms and you lock atoms together with specific amounts of electrons orbiting the nucleus, you then create molecules. So you go from atomic to molecules. I can go even subatomic, but that's too much for right now. So you so the molecules, now we discover through the double slit experiment, these electrons that are orbiting the atoms that are interlocking, creating these molecules, which are the gases that we breathe. The electrons are intelligent. And electrons make decisions based off of the environment, based off of conscious intervention. In the double slit experiment, we learned that when they were looking at these electrons, they were shooting electrons through this microscopic slit to see how they appeared on the back wall. When they were doing it without looking, the electrons, which should have made a digital pattern, one dot at a time, were making a wave pattern as if they didn't even exist as digital information, as if they existed as electromagnetic waves, which we now know is a fact. They are waves. But when we put a camera down there to look at the electrons go through the slit to see what was happening, how could this be? The electrons decided to turn back into digital bits of information again because they knew we were looking at them. So conscious interventions help collapse electrons into digital matter, but the electrons make a decision to be digital or to be a wave. So there's consciousness in atoms. So forget about brains, and you have to have a brain to be conscious, and you have to, even a rock is conscious. Everything is conscious based off the perspective of their way the atomic structure is set up. So as you speak into the atmosphere, you are creating cymatic frequencies. So everything with speech is all about frequencies. What we're doing when we're speaking to each other is we are creating vibrations that emanate from our vocal cords into space-time, and then they're picked up by the ears and then deciphered into what we're trying to, the point we're trying to make or whatever. But when you do the same thing out into the atmosphere and you're speaking, these electrons get the vibration from your vocal cords. And because they're intelligent, they begin to do different things. So they take those frequencies and then they start to literally change reality around you. And these you can't even see electrons. We're breathing in electrons right now as we're breathing. Every time you breathe in, you're breathing electrons in. Because why? Because you're breathing in H2O. I'm sorry, you're breathing in oxygen. You're breathing in hydrogen. You're breathing in krypton, argon. We don't just breathe in oxygen. Oxygen is just one of the things that we breathe. Oxygen only makes up 21% of the air we breathe, by the way. So what is the other, 80% we're breathing? We're breathing in all different types of gases together. But these gases are also part of this soup that we're living in that also help to create our reality. And when they pick up these cymatic frequencies, these vibrations from our vocal cords with conscious intention behind them, they begin to emanate or what they call jingle vibrations, and they go on like a wave pattern. And so you create ripples in time, in space-time, from your vocal cords. And because of this, you have the capability of creating or molding your reality tunnel as you move through this space-time continuum. So these are some of the things we're going to talk about the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. We're going to talk about how to use vocalizations to create your reality tunnel, how the vocalizations interact with space-time and also with other people's energy fields, and how, because people are mostly made up of water, how your conscious intent backed by your vocalizations directly affect the physiology of another person's body, not only their body, but also even your body. And anywhere where there's H2O present or water present, which is even water in the atmosphere, there's a direct effect. So that's why I made a mistake earlier and said H2O, because I'm thinking about evaporation. So as you move around the planet, you learn that as the sun beams down on moist grounds, the water in those grounds or in the oceans, which we have mostly an ocean planet, evaporate back into the sky, condense again, and fall back down as rain. So this water mist is all around us right now. So we're living in not only the gases that we're breathing in, but also this H2O is also all around us as well because of evaporation. And so now we know with Emoto's experiments with conscious intent against water, now as we think about the world around us and how we feel about the world around us, and because we're living in this gas and all this water around us, we're directly affecting our own reality on a consistent basis, and we don't even realize it.
Wow, y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this in the chat room? This is some amazing stuff. Now I want to ask you, with that being said, and I was watching your video on the DNA and our Wi-Fi, our Wi-Fi system within our body, and you said this is one of the reasons why we get a lot of visitations. I want to ask you, do you think the human body is one of the most advanced technologies in the universe, or is it one of the least advanced technologies in the universe?
I think it's one of the most advanced. And the reason why is because when you look at the Sumerian tablets, you find out that Enlil, who's Enki's brother, these are the two rulers of Earth back then, thousands and thousands of years ago. Enlil got pissed off at Enki because Enki was a master geneticist, and he gave a little extra when he when he genetically modified the hominids on this planet. He gave a little couple of tinkerings and tweaks to the avatar body to where it looks like it's weaker and less effective and has less capabilities in the state that it's in, but that the growth potential was so exponential, it can even bypass the Anunnaki themselves. And when Enlil found out about this, he got extremely mad at Enki about this. So our potential is off the charts. Our capability of tapping into all of our hidden gifts and talents is off the charts. What this avatar body is capable of doing is literally off the charts. The integrations that they can do with the universe and with technology and everything else is at another level. And our healing, all the stuff that is built into us that we have yet to just barely start to tap into again, it makes us a very special being. And I think that other beings from other places watch us, and these could be the watchers, to see how we develop.
Didn't Enki and Enlil realize that, okay, so the human body is a local entity, but it's operated by non-local consciousness.
Right.
So there'd be no surprise to the limit of what we can do, because at the end of the day, this is designed by what we call God or this non-local consciousness.
Exactly. See, they thought that by tinkering and disconnecting our DNA, this is why we have junk DNA. It's not really junk. It was
Mm,
connected in our ancestors'
mm.
bodies, but in our bodies, they disconnected it. They pull all the plugs out. It's okay, we're gonna unplug them from all these nodes. And that way, there's nothing they can do about it. They gotta listen to whatever we tell them to do. And but the human spirit is so powerful. We always want to get, we don't want to be slaves. We always, no matter where you look, you're going to see people being oppressed end up coming and fighting, eventually fighting against that oppression. There's always an overturning process, always a rise and fall of that oppression. We never want to stay. We have the God energy in us. We have the king and leadership DNA in our bodies because these Anunnaki people, they gave us some of their DNA and they were kings and they were in the royal bloodline. So we have the royalty inside of us. Then we have the divine energy inside of us at the same time. So there's no way that we would want to stay as suppressed and oppressed as a people, anybody on this planet, because the DNA is beckoning for greatness on a consistent basis. So eventually we always will overcome that in some point, shape. And it seems like it's been a long time that we've been in this situation, but you have to think about geological timescales. They're massive. We've only been on this planet. If you're looking at a clock and you're saying, okay, this universe is a clock time, 1 full hour on a clock. We've been here less than a second.
Wow.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? We've been here less than a second. We literally we're just like a poof, we just arrived. So we're at the very beginning stages of this whole process. And look where we came in 100 years, horse, buggy, and carriage to sending remote control cars into space. I mean, you know what I'm saying? To other planets. So we came a long way, but we got a long way to go. And this is just a very, very beginning stages of what was planned for us.
Wow. I mean, so all right, so we're talking about changing the molecular structure and we're talking about empty space. Where does sacred geometry fit into all this? Because we see symbols. So we're talking about symbols, the Adinkra symbols, the swastika, what that they stole that from somewhere else. We see the 5-point star, the 6-point star. What does symbols have to do, and sacred geometry have to do with creation?
These symbols represent the fundamental substructure of the energy grid that we're living in. That we're all plugged into. We're all part of the same grid. We're all plugged into it. Every atom in our body is plugged into that energetic grid right now. We're all on this energetic grid. And these particular symbols represent the coding and the substructures of this grid. For example, the flower of life. The flower of life encapsulates all the swastika. It encapsulates the within it. You can find the tree of life, the seed of life, of course, the fruit of life, the vesica piscis. You can find the vector equilibrium, which is the source of all unlimited power at the 0-point energy area. And so these sacred geometrical structures or substructures represent the ether of space-time and how life is formed. And if you look at the as above, so below, from the subatomic to the atomic, you see that those same features and those same geometrical shapes can be applied even to a human body, can be applied to a planet, can be even applied to the universe as a whole. So everything is on a mirrored level, okay? And we're living in a reality that mimics everything from the subatomic to the atomic, which we're going to go really deep into this in the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. And I'm going to show people on the screen how it works and how the breakdown is so that they can get a better understanding of really what's going on and how these sacred geometrical objects and things that they've been wearing and turning into jewelry and everything else, what do they really mean? For example, I'll give you one. The flower of life, in my opinion, is the face of God. That's what I call I literally call it the face of God. Why? Because inside the flower of life emanates from that all energy forms into the third dimension that have to do with creation. Creation, and not only creation of what we see around us in nature, but also biological avatars are created through this same field energy source. And I'm going to go into it and talk about some experiments that scientists did that prove this. So we're going to go deep. We're going to talk about how life forms come fully formed already. They don't just, they don't evolve like over millions of years. Macroevolution is real, where over short periods of time, we evolve to our environments. I'm sorry, let me go back. Let me correct myself. Microevolution is real, where we, over short periods of time, we evolve to our environment. But macroevolution, which is long-term evolution, where we start off as a cell and we turn into a fish and then turn into a human being, that doesn't exist. All the ancient texts will tell you that. That doesn't exist. So we're going to go deep into this at the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. We're going to explain it. We're going to show you the science studies. We're going to show you the ancient texts to back it up. And we're going to talk about all the different types of evolutions and how it really works and where we're going to go as a species. Where do I see us going in the future and how we're going to get there and what it's really going to look like. But it all starts with us here now. We are the pioneers. Everybody coming to this workshop is a pioneer of ushering mankind back into the golden age. That's really where we're trying to get back to the golden age. And we're trying to not only get to the golden age, this time we're trying to do it to where we sustain it. Because there's this big grand cycle where we rise to the golden age. It's called the Yuga cycle. And right now we're in the Tetra Yuga, which is the silver age, trying to get up that curve back to a golden age again. Then usually there's a fall back into a bronze age. And, we don't want to fall again. But in order to do that, we have to be completely aware of the ancient past, completely aware of the sciences, completely aware of the mindset that creates the fall. All these things have to come together. The mindfulness, the spirituality, the technology, the understanding of sciences, all this comes together to culminate to create a golden age and maybe even this time sustain it without a fall. That's the ultimate goal.
If we sustain a golden age, my brother Billy Carson, does that defeat the purpose of the universe in the first place, which is for consciousness to experience itself outside of itself? So the only way you do that is through having polarity. You have bad along with having good. When you're short, you're tall. When you're tall, when somebody's short, you're tall. When somebody's tall, you're short. So if we're in a golden age, do we not learn about ourselves as a spiritual entity like we're supposed to?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question, because we got to realize that we aren't the only people in the universe. There's billions and billions, maybe Googles of entities in the universe. So what becomes the next mission then when we're in a golden age? The next mission is we're now star travelers. We go back out into the stars. And now what are we doing? We're observing civilizations rise and fall, like Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets when he traveled to planets, right? And now we're imparting knowledge and wisdom. We're waiting for civilization to reach a certain level that we can interact with them and take them to the light to another level and show them how to get to their golden age and impart wisdom and knowledge. And we expand throughout galaxies like that.
So what you're talking about is what another entity is probably talking to you about right now.
That's it, man.
So we're behind. Now it's hard for me to explain, but I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing. I get what you're doing, man. I get what you're doing. Another planet probably went through what we went through already. They're done with it. Now they're waiting for us to get through it. And their job right now is to help us get through it. Once we get through it, we're going to do that to another planet. And then that planet is going to do that to the next planet, and so on and so forth.
That's it, man.
Wow, man.
That's it. Each one teach one.
Yeah, each one teach one on an intergalactic level, though.
Yes.
This is on the intergalactic level. Yo, do y'all hear this, man? Like sometimes when I'm listening to this information, I'll be like, am I the only one that's fascinated by this? Like, I'm completely family. Yeah. I'm talking about Brother Rich is completely fascinated with this information, man. Like it's my whole it's a major part of my life. So when I interview this brother or other brothers or sisters or put together workshops, I really want y'all to be excited for it. Like this is some amazing breakthroughs that we're making right now as a people. So man, let me real quick, what's going on in the chat room, family? Let me see. Are y'all like, do y'all hear what happened the last hour and a half with me and this brother talking? Goosebumps, right? Yeah. To ask a question like, what's the end goal? You got to answer that for yourself, brother. You got to answer that for yourself. I can't, that's all on you. What's the end goal for you, brother? But with everything we just said, for you to say that, I don't know. When's the workshop? I just post. You could click on the link in the description. It's May 23rd. Let me put it back on the screen, family. The workshop is May 23rd. Like I said, 6 hours of teaching, nonstop. The brother's going to be going in. I'm talking about advanced information. After the workshop, you're gonna have access to the brother for 30 days straight via WhatsApp. So the brother's gonna be available. You can pick the brother's brain, ask question, find out how to do all the techniques that he gave you on May 23rd. I mean, after the workshop, we should be good to go. We should definitely be good to go, and we're gonna make it happen. The Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop, we're learning the ancient Kemetic mysteries, hosted by Billy Carson, May 23rd, Brooklyn, New York. The link is in the description, family. Make sure you click on that link or email me, or you can text me for more information if you're interested. I put my number so you can text me. And I ain't picking up the phone, but you can text me, family. I'll say that. You can text me. But family, man, give me a question for Billy Carson. Before I ask another, let me take a question from the family, since we got over 1,000 people in the chat right now. Give me a question. Are we doing, everybody keeps asking, Billy, are we going to live stream the workshop? Everybody keeps asking that.
I see, man. Yeah. We got to see how the numbers go. And I guess based on the technology you can get access to, you know, we might be able to get it set up as we get a little closer to the event.
Right now, I'm going to tell you, family, we're looking into that, but there's nothing like being at this workshop in person. It's like imagine watching a basketball game on TV at home and being there in the front row. You want to be front row for this workshop. It's a life-changing event. So I would advise everybody, the tickets is cheaper now too. Get on the plane, fly to New York, try to attend this workshop if you can. It definitely will be a great investment in your life, family. I kid you not.
You know what I'm going to do? I meant to tell you, Rich, real quick. I meant to say this the last time, but I will randomly give away, because I know everybody, when they come in, they get a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Do they get a ticket when they come in the door? How do they, when they come in? Is there something given to them?
Wristband.
Wristband. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll figure it out. We're going to figure out a way to do randomly. Somebody will get given away. I'm going to give away two pair of the Compendium of the Emerald Tablet shoes.
Woo! Oh, man. I forgot again.
Oh, it's okay, man.
We're going to be on again next week. So
yeah. So we're going to give away 2 pairs of shoes. I'll get their size at the event, and then I'll order them, and they'll be shipped directly to their house. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yo, that's what it's about, brother. Yeah, the brother got his own shoe line, and the shoes are real good. The brother sent me a pair. I meant to bring it. I'm so excited about this workshop and just talking to the brother that I forgot to bring it to my basement. But yeah, we're definitely going to show y'all that next week. But the brother's doing his thing. Like I said, it's all about bringing the invisible to the visible. And this brother knows how to do that. This brother definitely knows how to do that. And so that's what we're all trying to do. And that's what this workshop is about. And we do that regardless, but we want to do that consciously and harmonically. And we want to be in tune with our resonant frequency. That way we could be happy. We don't want to be at a state of dis-ease. We want to be at a state of health. So, we're going to learn all about that at the workshop. Let me get a question from the family. Somebody wrote, "What magic are you working to make your skin glow?"
It's these lights I got in here.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Lights. Okay, are we the ancestors in reincarnation? So these ancestors, we talk so high about ancient Egypt and this one and that one. Are we them here today, Billy Carson?
That's another good question. You know, becoming reincarnated is very intricate in terms of who you come back and what you come back as. And the more I look into it, there could be reoccurrences of yourself, not only within your own race, but even in other races. You can come back as you could have been previously, you could have been a woman. You could have been a Caucasian woman or an Asian woman or an indigenous Aboriginal woman or a man, or, you could have been any other race in a different gender and come back now as this time as a Black person. So it's not specifically directed, in my opinion, that you're coming back in the same exact bloodline or the same exact ancestral line every single time. I think that the way the energy flows, it goes where it's needed. And I think that you can come back as anybody at any given time, in any given place. Maybe not even on this planet. You probably can even incarnate back on another planet or come back in another galaxy, on another planet. So I think it's really limiting to the universal energy and the power of how big the universe is and how creative it is, to say that I pass away and I come back 5 generations later as my, I was an ancestor, now I came back again. I think that's possible because all mathematics say that things like that can happen. But I also think it's a little bit limiting. I think that we can literally come back as any race, any gender, in any place, any time, any planet, any galaxy in the universe. This is just my opinion.
Billy, can an entity, like let's say an entity is a cat, a dog, or a gorilla, can it eventually work its way up into incarnating as a human?
That's another good question. Now, that question is one I have to tell you because I don't like to make up stuff. That's a question I've never looked into or researched, or a topic I've never looked into, I should say, or researched. Animal energies alchemically transforming or reincarnating as human avatar bodies. That's something I never actually even looked into. I'm glad you brought it up because that's something for me to add another, feather to my cap, because I like information that I never thought of before. And what you just hit me with is something completely out the blue that I never thought of before. So that's a great question. And I'm going to start looking into it and researching it. Like, I'm not one of those guys that just makes up every single answer. I like to know what I'm talking about. And that is one that I really don't know about. So that's a great one, man.
Indeed. Somebody in the chat wants to know, could Jesus or the Messiah be one entity, or could it possibly be an energy of many light entities? That's EJ Buckets in the chat room.
That's a great question, man. Listen, in my personal opinion, Jesus, or Yeshua is his real name himself, is probably an incarnation of Thoth. He found a way to come back through a womb of a woman and grow up as a human child so that he can see what it felt like to be in a human avatar body. That's why he calls himself in the Bible the Son of Man, in the scriptures, I should say, because the Bible is put together. But in the Emerald Tablets, he calls himself the Son of Atlantis. And also he calls himself the Son of Man as well. I don't think he's referencing the fact that he's the God of people, but the Messiah aspect of him, or because he was a great teacher, and the Messiah aspect and the information he was trying to pass on was that we are all Messiahs. Every single one of us is a Messiah. And we were literally sent here to save ourselves. That's what the big thing is missing here. The big point, the whole point of all this going on, how do we get ourselves out of the situation? How do we rescue ourselves from these problems and issues and situations that we're having in our lives and on the planet? It's us. We're the ones who are the saviors. We are literally the saviors of ourselves. And until we realize that, we keep relinquishing our powers to entities out there that we think exist, and nothing happens, nothing changes, nothing great, there's no real great benefit that's really visible. Every now and then we see a spark here and there, something that changes, and we go, oh, it was the will of the gods or whatever. But in true reality, it's all about how we affect the reality here. And if you look into the ancient text and also then look at what made it from the ancient text into the more New Age text, which I call the Bible and some of the other books, those are New Age books in my opinion, you see where it says that we're supposed to go out and do greater things. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, I write in my book, I expound on it, where he's talking about the fact that human beings are supposed to do enormous, incredible things and greater things than him. And in the modern day Bible, Jesus says, ye are gods, and you're supposed to do miracles and do greater things than him. It's the same exact words over and over and over again. We are the divine is in us, so the spark is in us, so we are the divine, we are gods, and also we are the saviors of ourselves, literally. Nobody's coming to save us but us.
Billy, have you ever came into contact with any extraterrestrials or seen any spaceships?
Well, when in 1977 in Opelika, Florida, that's when I saw my first UFO. So in 1977, I was in Opelika, which is Miami, Florida. We had just moved out of New York. I was living in Queens, New York, in Cambria Heights. Left that nice, suburb, and moved straight down to underneath the ghetto. I mean, it was pretty bad. But we lived next to the Opelika airport, and I would see airplanes go over, private airplanes go over, right? These small jets and stuff, and these small prop wing planes. And I would just watch them clear the horizon. It would take a few minutes to clear the horizon. I knew they were moving fast. It fascinated me because these airplanes are moving fast, but to me, from where I'm standing, it looks like they're moving slow. So I always pondered that as a little kid. One day, this object came across, and it moved across the sky, and it cleared the horizon in seconds, not minutes. It didn't have a fuselage, didn't have a cockpit, and didn't have wings. So in my mind, I knew right away, this was not what I could consider to be called an airplane. All I knew was that it wasn't an airplane. I didn't know UFO. I didn't know what a flying saucer was. I didn't know what aliens were. Those words didn't exist in my vocabulary. Back then, we only had 4 channels on TV, and that was a black and white TV with 4 antennas that barely worked anyway. So you spent a lot of time outside. So the next day, I went to Rainbow Park Elementary, and I went to the library, and I took down all the Encyclopedia Britannicas on aerospace, and I started researching aerospace in 1977. That's when I started. Much later in my life, in 2010, I was working on this project called Fort Terra Nova, which I actually finished that project. Fort Terra Nova, I was on the History Channel for this project. It's an underground shelter that I built that's the size of 3 Walmarts in Northwest Georgia, under 100 acres of land. And it's there right now. But during this process of working on that project and getting it initiated, I came home one day after a hard day's work, sat down on my couch around 9:00 p.m., turned on the sports. I wanted to get ESPN update on what was going on. And I was wide awake, wasn't tired, wasn't sleepy, nothing like that. And in my house, and at the time I was married and my kids were still younger, so they were all living in the house at the same time. So this was a house full of people. But my kids were in split floor plan upstairs, girls on one side, boys on the other. And at the time I had a wife and she was living in the master bed. She was sleeping in the master bedroom or resting in there or whatever. The whole room turned lavender color, this weird lavender purplish haze. And I thought my boys were playing a trick on me. So I turned around, and when I turned and looked up over my left shoulder, they weren't up there, upstairs. I was like, what the heck was that? When I turned back, 2 gray aliens were in my face. And it took me a long time to talk about this. I made no money off of this. It was nothing but anguish. It actually was the catalyst for me getting a divorce. It scared my kid. It still has them scared till this day. Actually, they still don't even like talking about it. Sometimes I don't even like talking about it. It took a very long time for me to come out about this because Black people don't talk about this kind of stuff. But it's a true reality, and it did happen. They didn't speak to me in telepathic words, like some people say that, they were getting telepathy or whatever. They had these big eyes. I still can't tell if these eyes were eyes or were they goggles. I still can't really tell. But there was dots for a nose, slits for ears, and like a slit for a mouth. And I'm sitting in a chair about maybe a little bit lower than this now. So they must have been maybe 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall, because I'm 6'4". So they probably like 4.5 feet tall, somewhere in that range. And what started happening was my brain literally started shaking inside of my skull. Like literally my brain, and to the point where it was hurting. So I started screaming, but no sound was actually, you couldn't hear the sound. It was like wind coming out with no sound. And then as fast as it started, it ended. And then they turned around and they dangled away. I call it dangling because they don't really have a walking gait like a human. It's this weird bounce. It's very strange. And they went right through the wall. And then the lights went back, the TV came back, and I ran around the house. And nobody heard or saw anything. And that thing had me horrified and tortured for a long time. A couple things came out of it, though. 2 things. The first thing is this phrase was burning in my mind: worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope, over and over again, thousands and thousands of times. And I was like, what is this worldwide telescope? So I went to my computer the next day and I typed in, it was excite.com, because Google was still in competition back then. They weren't really the main dogs on the block yet. So I went to excite.com, I typed in worldwide telescope, and up popped up worldwidetelescope.org. I almost fell out of my chair. It's a real website with real space probe data from all the space probes that ever went out into space. And you can tap into the imagery. You can go into the Mars rovers. And because the way that they did the stitching of the images, when you're in the Mars rover mode, it's like you're in the Mars rover and you're able to pan in, pan out, zoom in, zoom out, look left and right, and everything else. So when I turned it on, I installed the software. Back then you had to install software. I installed the software, I opened it up, and the first thing I saw was Mars panoramas. I said, let me check it out. Went to Mars panoramas. I went to Opportunity rover. When I opened it up, I saw anomalies right away, things that didn't belong on Mars, but they were there laying in the dirt and dust and everything else. And I said, what am I looking at? And that got me into anomaly hunting. And I became one of the top anomaly hunters in the world. And now one of the things I go around the world lecturing on is astroanthropology and archaeoastronomy. And matter of fact, I'm doing a big talk in Manchester, UK, June 25th and 26th about space. The whole thing is about space anomalies. So the second thing that came from it is my thirst for quantum physics. like I had looked into it before, but never really delved deep into it. But for some reason, after that incident, I became completely obsessed with understanding it and learning it and reading it and buying physics books and quantum physics books. I even joined Khan Academy, KAHN Academy, which is an online quantum mechanics university. I joined that. I started studying there. I just couldn't get enough of it. And so two things may have come from that experience. I wasn't abducted or anything like that, but it's definitely two experiences in my life that are very, very strange, totally unexplainable, that in my mind really did happen. And I would take 10 lie detector tests if I had to prove that it really did happen to me. And it, in a weird kind of way, it took me down this additional path that I'm on with, took me to the next level of what I'm doing with teaching and everything else. And so in a weird kind of way, it's part of the reason why I'm here right now.
I want to ask about, and wow, that's an amazing story, my brother. And I'm thankful that you shared that on my platform. Truly thankful. And I know how hard it is sharing a story like that with, you know, sometimes people in our community is just, they don't want to hear it. They're completely dismissive of stories like that. So a lot of people, when I have one-on-one conversations with them, they start to tell me things that I've never heard of in a collective conversation. So I'm thankful for you sharing that with me on the platform, my brother. Somebody in the chat room brought up the word shapeshifters. Okay. So I want to ask you, a lot of us, when we came into consciousness, it was through David Icke. If we came up in the early 2000s, it was from David Icke or Alex Jones or Jordan Maxwell. And one of the things that stood out about David Icke was him talking about these shapeshifters. What could he do? Are you in agreement with what he's saying with the shapeshifters? What is your thought on a reptilian turning into a human and back and forth?
Well, you know, his idea of them, it could be reality, it may not. I really don't know. But all I can do is I like to base what I know, what I talk about, on text. So when I look at the Nag Hammadi scripts, the Nag Hammadi, which I own a copy of those scripts, they talk about these shapeshifters, okay? So they're called archons in the Nag Hammadi scripts.
What, the Nag Hammadi library, that book?
There's an actual book of all the scripts that they discovered in these caves. Right, so they put them together in a book. So there's an actual book of scripts put together called the Nag Hammadi. And it's an incredible story. This is where you have the Gnostic Christians, the Christians that really have the belief that I believe, which is where the people who are worshiping everything, you know, believing that the Bible is real, are really following Satan, the devil, directly without realizing it, because that book was authored in a way, put together in a way, comprised in a way to lead you to your own damnation and away from true spirituality. That's what the Gnostics believe. But also in there, they talk about these archons, and there's two archons. One is a reptilian type of an archon that's multidimensional, that has the capability of latching onto a human subconsciousness and shape-shifting even in and out of our reality. And the second one looks like an amoeba with a big head, which is what we call kind of like a gray alien in a weird way. So it has the archon and the reptilian entities in the Nag Hammadi scripts, and they have this capability of coming in and out of this reality and attaching themselves to human consciousness and attaching to human avatar bodies. So in a weird kind of way, it's like shape-shifting as well as being these also well talked about objects, these beings, which would be a gray and also a reptilian. So they were talking about that thousands of years ago. So there must be some truth to this. You know, I have the Ubaid statuettes. I have some of them here, replicas of the original ones that are in the museum. And these Ubaid statuettes that come out of Iraq, they are reptilian people with reptilian bodies, reptilian heads, reptilian skin. One woman's actually even breastfeeding a reptilian baby. And these things are like 6,000 years old. And the Ubaid culture predated the Sumerians in Iraq or in Mesopotamia, which means they probably were even here when the Anunnaki arrived. They would probably predate even the Anunnaki, these reptilian people. So it's a pretty interesting thing, man, that these reptilians keep popping up every thousands of years. They keep popping up, and that they've also been believed to be able to be multidimensional and shapeshift and everything else. So there's got to be some truth to the story, you know, somewhere. It's just too prevalent.
Wow. You know, I asked this question to a couple of people because I'm very interested in the answer. And before we started the show, me and you was talking, and I asked you, I said, Billy, would you ever want to reincarnate back to this realm? And you say, maybe 1,000 years from now, whatever. And, a lot of us, because of what we went through in this realm, we feel as though we don't want to come back here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk to you about love. Yeah. They say that love is the closest word or representation of what we call God. Mm-hmm. But love, it to me, Billy, and I brought this up before, love is the one thing that will keep you in this realm. Right. And when I say that, I mean, say if you have somebody, a mother, a daughter, a wife, anybody, regardless of what's going on in this realm, the love for them, or regardless how much knowledge you got, your love for them wants to keep you here, wants you to stay here. Right. So love is kind of like it kind of locks you down in this realm almost, man.
Kind of, because there's two versions of love. Like the love that you're talking about would be the love of a person that has achieved a certain level of consciousness, but they now utilize love has become an attachment for them. I don't like to say that I'm an ascended master, but once you understand what's happening on a spiritual level on a much deeper level, once you understand what unconditional love truly is for yourself and for the universe, and how we're just temporary bypassers in this realm, you realize that, yes, I love my daughters and I love my grandchildren. I love them. I got 3 grandchildren now. I got 1 on the way and 2 already here. I love them to death and I wouldn't want to leave them for anything. But at the same time, I realize that that's just a temporal, temporal, temporal avatar unlocking or encapsulating some spiritual consciousness that's coming in by a stream of energy. And that none of us are really truly here. And that the true source of them that's making up their being here in this realm exists in a higher dimension. And so you can, there's an old saying that goes, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. So, in some ways you want to be, when you love people here, you want to stay and you want to be attached and you don't want to let them go. And we're so selfish, we'll keep people on life support for months at a time because we don't want to let them go. But at the same time, when you become a little deeper, a little smarter, a little higher level of consciousness, you realize that this is just a testing ground and the temporary place that you've visited here, and your true reality and the true glamour and glitz and everything else and royalty and all the other accolades that are awaiting you are outside of this realm. This is just a testing ground to get your hands dirty and get your feet wet and see how much you can pick up, how much knowledge you can gain. And if you get to a certain level here, I really do believe, like Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets, you can then consciously incarnate at will to what dimension and what place you actually want to, your heart's desire. And I think the true love, the true unconditional love, is not only just for people that you interacted with or relatives that you were born into, but that your unconditional love encompasses the entire universe and all beings in the entire universe. And how can I be of assistance and help anywhere in the galaxies and throughout this entire universe, or maybe even in the multiverse? How can I be of service to others? How can I be of help to others? What other missions can I go on in other places if you feel your mission here is complete? So that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to the point where I can go on another mission. I feel like my mission here will be completed by the time this avatar body expires, and I'm looking forward to a new mission somewhere else totally, to exercise my unconditional love in another place, in another space, in another time, another planet, another galaxy, maybe even another universe.
Do you carry the memory of this life if you go to another universe? Will you carry the memory of Billy Carson to that other universe, according to what you read?
That's a good question. Thoth talks about getting to a level consciously where you incarnate with full memories. Some people have partial memories. They have small glimpses of memories. Some people have full memories. He talks about having full recall of previous lives and taking with him to every single new avatar body and every single dimension. That's what I'd like to be.
That's dope. Yo, This is what I'm saying. Yo, family, do y'all hear this conversation going? Like, yo, bro, like this, this is some amazing conversation, man. Wow, imagine incarnating into this realm with the memory of your last 15 lives. Like, how would that impact what I'm doing today, or my day-to-day choices, my daily choices, the mates that I chose, or the friends that I chose. Like, this is some, oh man, this is some interesting stuff here, Billy.
Yeah.
Listen, family, I got the flyer on the screen, the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. This is what it's all about here, family. There's people that have $1 million that's sad. There's people that have $1 that's happy. There's something going on that they're not telling us. There's a place happiness resides in that they're not telling us where that destination is. Maybe they don't know that destination. Maybe it's for us, up to us to figure it out. But regardless, this workshop is going to do something that you can't find in many places. We're journeying into inner space, the inner space within you, that inner verse. This is a place where, man, it's a place that we haven't journeyed. We haven't traveled. So it's uncharted territory, Billy Carson. It's uncharted territory, man.
It's going to be so nice, man. It's going to be a great time. I'm going to give all my energy. People know who have come to my Egyptian mystery schools when I teach for 12 hours. I don't relent. I don't get tired. I don't slow down. I keep the information coming nonstop, man. And we actually even sometimes go over the time, so what turns 12 hours usually turns into 14 hours, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to give all the energy I got, all the information, all the knowledge I got, everything that's been handed down to me. I'm going to impart that wisdom to the people. And I also learn from my own workshops. So not only am I the teacher, but I'm also the student. Mm-hmm. And I really look forward to that, because while I'm giving the information in a weird kind of a way, I'm able to become the observer at the same time and listen to myself speak. And I actually learn from myself. So it's really a hard to explain thing, but I really look forward to these, because it's like I'm also the student at the same exact time, and things that I've already known even become more reinforced because more times of me saying it, more times of me delving into it, different ways of me trying to find a way to express it so it's not the same exact way every single time. Mm. And because I'm doing that, it's like I'm tapping into source, and I'm getting more information and more knowledge and more wisdom, and even I'm growing. So the more workshops I do, the more I even grow. So it's really exciting, man. It's just great stuff, man. I'm looking forward to this. I'm literally counting down the days, man. It's going to be amazing.
Definitely. Somebody in the chat wrote something interesting. They said, are some things better left unknown? And I think that's interesting, because in my time I spent in this metaphysical information, I met a lot of what you call crazy people.
Yeah.
A lot of people that got into this and they just, we would say lost it. Maybe they're not crazy, but they just can't communicate on a day-to-day basis with everybody else. So what is it about this information where it'll just drive a person crazy, Billy Carson?
Yeah. We're in a field of research that literally, for whatever reason, if the human brain is very complicated and very intricate. Mm-hmm. And we're all wired, every single one of our brains is wired slightly differently. And so based on how your synapses are going in your brain and how your brain is wired, and how you process information, too much information on the realms that we're talking about could be a tipping point to tip a mind over the edge into chaos, into schizophrenia. Some people just, it's like the old saying, too much information to handle. So the statement that he made, for some people it is true. There's a small amount of people in this conscious community that have proven that it's just too much information for them to handle. For whatever reason, it is what it is. I think the vast majority of people can handle it, especially if it's taught in the right way. I think a lot of the people that have gone to the point where they can't handle it and have gotten a little crazy or schizophrenic is because they've been delving into things on their own and coming up with their own ideas of what this stuff means. And some of the stuff that they've researched, it could be a lot of fear-based stuff and fear-based content, which I found that a lot of the people who are kind of lost it, they've focused more on the fear conspiracy stuff. And because of that, a lot of that fear conspiracy, not all of it's true. There's a certain percentage of it that's actually completely fabricated and made up. So they've been chasing ghosts and not even realizing it. And they've kind of put themselves in this low frequency vibration and allowed all these crazy thoughts to come in, and it's overwhelmed them. It's unfortunate, but it does happen. This is why workshops like ours are very, very important, because it's structured information And the way that I teach with a structure that teaches you step by step what's happening behind the scene, behind the veil, behind these two eyes that really are seeing an illusion. What the first eye, what you call the first eye, is really seeing, which is the third eye we call, but the first eye, what that's seeing. And I'm explaining it in a way with backed by science to take away all the crazy spookiness. So you can say, oh, wow, now I understand, because this, and because how this works with that, and because these physics and these quantum mechanics, now this is how it's really working. So when I go to do this particular technique, or I go to do this particular meditation, because I'm thinking this way and because my heart's feeling this way, this is what's synchronizing with that information. And behind the scenes, this is why the science is making it work. Now, by that logical process, all of this mysticism and all this crazy thinking and magical thinking, it's not that you want to delete it, but at the same time, you're getting an understanding of when you're getting ready to go into these power moves and these mindsets, what's working behind the scenes. And I think because you can visualize the step-by-step process that's actually occurring, like I'm going to show you scientifically, when you go into it, now it's not too overwhelming. Now it's not, oh my God, this is pushing me over the edge. And because I'm not predominantly focusing on fear-based content all the time, I'm keeping you at a high vibration. Even on my Instagram and Facebook posts, if you look at my posting, you'll see this oscillation. So I may take you into some stuff that's not so happy, not so enticing. Maybe people call it conspiracies or whatever. If I talk about a coronavirus or whatever it is, they'll start to take you down. Okay. And then my next post may be about the coronavirus, but it may be comical. So they'll start bringing you back up the curve a little bit because I'm making you aware of it, but I'm making you laugh at the same time. So I'm raising your vibration. Then my next post may be about spirituality. Then my next post may be about something happy that happened, whether it's having to do with animals or something like that, something else. And then I may hit you with another thing that's hardcore truth and take you back down again. So it's this rise and fall. So I don't keep people at this low frequency all the time. I bring them up with my content and I get them back to a high frequency. And then I hit them with something that will eventually some people take them down, but I bring them back up again in a way that keeps them understanding and learning, but don't give them the tipping point of just all dogmatic, hardcore conspiracy, negative stuff. And that's the process that I use in my posting and also in my teaching as well.
Want to post, can you see, hold up, give me a second. All right, can you see the Adinkra symbol I just shared, Billy Carson?
Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, I see it.
So we talked earlier at the beginning of this conversation about Adinkra codes and our reality and Adinkra codes being this, I guess, the software that runs this reality.
Yeah. So
let's talk about tattoos, because when I see this, a lot of people have this tattooed on their body. What does, we talked about words and our words, and we talked about changing the molecular structure of water, and we talked about our thoughts. Let's talk about tattoos. And when you inscribe a symbol on your body, something coaches have done for thousands of years.
Yeah.
What would this symbol on my body, what would that do to my body, to my ether, to my reality, to my manifestation, to everything?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people get tattoos and don't even know what the tattoos mean, just because they think they look cool. And they have to understand that when you inscribe writing onto water, which is what you are, our avatar bodies are sacks of water. We're water robots, basically. Okay. So you inscribe these etchings and these writings onto the body, onto the water body, you're directly affecting the physiology of the body. So, when you go into looking into getting tattoos, you need to analyze specifically not only the lettering or the imagery that you're going to put, but the research behind what that imagery or letters mean, and what was the original conscious intent that went out behind it. If you can find out when that particular image or that etching or that letter was created, what's the original mindset that went out behind it? Because that mindset sends out ripples in space-time. And it still will have an effect, a direct effect on that image before it's etched onto your body. And when it's etched onto your body, it's going to affect the physiology because you're made of water. So, it's really important to understand that scenario. Like, Okay, I'm gonna, and I'm gonna put this Adinkra code. Well, let me research the Adinkra codes. Let me find out from the, what the Dogons knew about Adinkra codes and where they got this information and why they create them and all this kind of stuff. You might not even know about all the scientific aspects of it with the new information we have now from Professor James Gates and so forth. But just knowing that they, that they believe in this, that this world is a dream world and all these other aspects of reality exist, then I would make my decision based off of, okay, should I put this on my body? And then when I'm getting it etched onto my body, the tattoo person, what is their conscious intent? What is their mindset? I know that they're artists and they're doing this as a job, but it's important for the person that's drawing this this symbol on your body to have a positive mindset towards it and towards you as an intention, a conscious intention, while they're doing the tattoo work. Because if they're thinking something negative, if they're thinking something something, I won't say dumb, but something not positive about you or about this symbol while they're doing it, and they're just thinking, I'm just going to be, this is just my job or whatever. I don't care what they think about it. I think it's horrible. I think they're stupid and I hate this person. And they're etching this on your body while they're thinking all these thoughts about you. It's not good either. So you want to have a good relationship with your tattoo person, the person that's going to be tattooing, etching symbols onto your body, onto your water body. You want to have a good relationship with them. You want to know where their mind is. You want to have conversations with them, deep conversations, to figure out what are their intentions, or what do they feel about life, what do they feel about people in general, before you pick one that's going to actually burn something into your skin and put a symbol on your body that's going to directly affect your life force. You know what I mean?
Listen, man. Once again, this is some high-powered, powerful information, brother. I don't want to keep you too long tonight.
Yeah, I gotta go.
We don't win about 2 hours, And that's something, the illusion of time is something maybe we could talk about in our next show. They say physicists don't even use the word time. They just use the word space-time continuum because they understand time is a relative concept.
Yes.
So time is something that we really have to explore and have and redefine, if I say, so that we may understand better this reality that we live in. We're about to get out of here, family. Once again, closing out, I want to tell everybody, make sure you'll come to the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. That's going down May 23rd. Let me put the give me a second, family. We still got over 1,000 people in the building. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I know it's late. We still got a lot of people in here. Everybody, make sure you'll come out. Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop, May 23rd in Brooklyn, New York. If you enjoyed this talk, which I know you did, that's why there's so many people here tonight, and a lot of people will see this, but the brother's going to go even further in depth. The brother's going to break all of this down thoroughly, and he's going to drop gems that he doesn't drop on the internet. You want to come to this workshop, May 23rd in Brooklyn, New York. The link is in the description bar. You could click on that link and you could get tickets to the workshop. It's 6 hours. After the workshop, you will have access to Billy Carson for 30 days straight via WhatsApp. You can pick this brother's brain, ask him questions, figure out how to utilize these techniques. This is something that no other workshop is provided, and I'm proud to say, I'm proud of it. I'm proud to say that we're providing this. You got to be proud of the work that you put in. I'm proud that I get to say, hey, after this workshop, you got access to me and this brother for 30 days. Yeah. That's like, y'all don't listen, family, that's unheard of. Yeah. So with that being said, man, I want to thank you, brother Billy Carson, for coming on the show. Is there anything you want to leave the people with before we get out of here today?
I just want to say, I want to thank everybody for even coming on the chat, taking the time and energy late night like this to come on and listen to what I have to say. If you learned anything from it, please share with other people. If you can come to the event, that'd be fantastic. And also don't forget Forbidden Knowledge TV with the number 4, ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Looking to put the streaming net. And I'm looking forward to you, Brother Rich, being on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv as well, putting some of your episodes up there and reaching out to the people, tapping into other markets and, getting you out there even on a bigger way. So it's going to be exciting.
Listen, I will definitely be on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. I'm going to urge everybody to subscribe. If we got Netflix, if we got Hulu and all these other places that we're subscribed to, we should definitely be on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. I'm going to have exclusive content and the quality is going to be higher than it is on YouTube. Wait till you'll see the content I'm going to upload on this brother's platform. So like I said, it's a cause for celebration. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody in the chat room for coming out tonight, tuning in, being interested. I hope a lot of y'all are able to come out to the Eye-Magi-Nation Workshop. I'm going to be kicking it with this brother more often leading up to the workshop. So you'll probably see me and the brother build again late next week. But besides that, thanks for everything, brother Billy. You done touched on everything. Coronavirus, us coming from other planets, aliens changing our DNA. I mean, you name it, you talked about it, brother.
Hey, man. I've been blessed to learn a couple things over the years, you know?
Shit, man. Thanks a lot. I truly do appreciate it, brother. I'm going to see you next week.
Thank you. Peace.
All right.